What is up? Welcome back to another video. I have a confession to make. I'm a moron. I recorded the original video of me going through my film collection and stuff. The audio is now corrupted, so then I recorded another video where I just read through the list I have, and I think I deleted the video to that and the audio, so we'll do it again real quick. I've got 145 rolls of film. This is probably the first half of them. I'll just go through it, tell you what they are, and whether or not they're expired, if they're 35mm, whatever. So, start off, the first and only film that I have stored in my freezer is Kodak high-speed infrared, 35mm roll of film that I think I got for 30 bucks. I'll do a video about it sometime. I have a whole infrared thing I want to do. The next one is Seagull Color IR100, which may or may not be infrared. I shot a roll of it not too long ago, and it looked like it was infrared that I shot incorrectly. But that's 35mm film. It's expired. It's in the fridge, not the freezer. We've got Kodak Ektar 125, 24 exposure, 35mm roll. We have then 4 rolls of Kodak Ektar 1000 speed film, all 35mm, one of which is 12 exposures, which is a sample roll, and the other 3 are 24 exposure rolls. Kodak Ektar 25, 24 exposure roll there, 35mm. 2 rolls of Ilford HP4, which is really old, before HP5 came out. I shot a roll of film of that. The video was pretty interesting. 2 rolls of that, 400 speed, 35mm film. A roll of older Ilford FP4, 20 exposures. I believe it expired in 1978, 79. And that's, I think, 125 speed film, 35mm as well. Kodak Gold 1600, 12 exposures. Kodak Royal Gold 1000 speed film, 24 exposures. I believe the Royal Gold is a classier version of gold film. I don't really know, but that's interesting. Fuji Superia 1600, 36 exposures. 1600 speed 35mm film is pretty nice. And then 3 rolls of Kodak Pro 1000, which I believe is just kind of standard Kodak color film, but 1000 speed film in 120, 3 rolls of that. 2 rolls of Agfachrome 1000, I think, which is, I believe, slide film. And when I bought it originally, I was thinking it was just Agfachrome 160. I didn't read very well. I still don't read very well, but I've got 2 rolls of that in 120, and I doubt that anything will ever come of that, but that's a cool thing, I suppose. Ektachrome Plus 100, another slide film in 120. Ektachrome Plus 100, which I've got Ektachrome Plus 100 and 120, and then regular Ektachrome 100, both of which are very expired. 2 rolls of Provia 100F in 220, and I have those in the fridge as well because I love Provia, and in 220 that is kind of a rarity. Fuji Superia Premium 400, 400 speed film, 35mm. That one expired, I think, in September. So technically, yes, it's expired, but barely. Fuji Pro 400, 35mm, Agfa Portrait 160. I have 2 of those, both in 120. Fuji Superia 1600, 12 exposures, 35mm. I've got that in the fridge as well. The rest of these are stored in a little box I have. W Photo 424 exposures. I think that was Walgreens, but just one of those probably Kodak color films that Walgreens slap their label on. That way you bring it back to them for developing and all that stuff. Then we've got Ritz Crystal Big Print. If I brought it back to Ritz, which is, I guess, a company or I guess a store at some point, you could basically get larger scans or larger prints of it, but it's just, as far as I know, regular 100 speed 35mm film. Giant 100 speed film. I think that's another grocery store company thing that existed at one stage. That's 35mm. Fuji Superia 200, 36. Kodak T-Max 400, 24 exposure, 35mm roll. Cinestill Red Rum 120, which is just red scale medium format film. Fuji 160 in 120, Kodak Pro 400 in 120, Kodak Black and White 400 CN. I have mini rolls of that. That's 35mm film. It's basically black and white film that you can develop in C41 emulsion. I've got another roll of it here. Then I have, what is this, 6 rolls of Fuji Presto 400, which is black and white Fuji film. I got a big brick of it. I gave a bunch of it away. I've shot with a bunch of it. I really like it. It's just kind of standard 400 speed black and white film from Fuji that expired in like the 90s, I think. Then we get into my 110 collection, which I have quite a bit of. I have 6 cartridges of Western Family 200 in 110. There was a deal on eBay a while ago. Someone was just selling big bricks of this Western Family 200 speed 110 cartridges, so I bought up a bunch of them. Then I have 4 cartridges of Fuji Superia 200 and 110. 3 rolls of Rite Aid 400, which is another grocery store brand. That actually comes in a box too, but that's all 35mm film. A roll of Ferrania P30, 36 exposures, 80 speed film. That was like, I think, one of the first batches that they made, or that they were selling over here. So that was from, I think, 4 years ago or something like that. Another roll of Kodak Black and White 400 CN, 35mm. A roll of Film Washi R 100 speed film, not expired. That's the first one so far at 60 rolls in that hasn't been expired, so that's cool. Kodak Max 400 24 exposures, just expired Ultra Max. Kodak Elite 200, which I guess might be better than Max, I'm not sure. Kodak 200, I think that's just standard gold, 24 exposures. Fuji Superia 400, 24 exposures. Kodak Gold Ultra, which might be better than Elite and Max, who's to say? But that's 400 speed, 24 exposures. Fuji Superia 200, 36 exposures. Fuji Color Super G 100, and that's 120 film. Super G is the predecessor to Superia and all that stuff. So that I think expired in like the early 90s, I want to say. Another roll of Kodak Black and White 400 CN, 35mm. Fuji Pro 160S, 36 exposures and 35mm, 160 film, obviously. Kodak Max 400, 24 exposures. Kodak Advantex, 25 exposures. That's, I think, the only cartridge of APS film in this batch. I have a few more, I believe. Kodak Vericolor 3 160, that's a 120 film. Kodak Ektachrome Elite 200, 35mm, 200 speed film. Walgreens 200, 24 exposures, 35mm. Seattle Filmworks 100. It's a company that exists. I don't know if it's C41 or ECN2, but I didn't know it's only 20 exposures because they're cheapskates. Kodak Black and White 400 CN, another one of those, 35mm there. I've got Portra 400 VC, Portra 400 UC, Portra 160 NC. That's in 120, 120, and 220. The VC is for vivid color, the UC is for ultra color, and the NC is for natural color. I believe the UC might be like a sample roll, so it might be like 8 exposures as opposed to 12. I'm not entirely sure, but it does look a little bit thinner. Fuji Pro 400H, I got that in 120. Fuji NPS 160 in 120. Kodak Pro 400 in 120. Kodak Portra 220 VC, which is a personal favorite of mine. That's 400 speed film. Kodak 160 NC, which is Portra 160. That's in 220 as well. Vericolor 3 160, which is in 220 there as well. Kodak Portra 400 UC 120, I believe that's another sample roll there. Arista EDU 100 and 120, and that's my second one, which is not expired, so pretty exciting stuff. And then we've got Konica 160 and 120, and that is very expired because Konica I don't think has made film in many decades, but I think this one expired in the early 90s, late 80s or something like that. Fujicolor Super HR 400 speed film in 120. Kodak Gold 100 in 120, that's pretty impressive. Kodak T-Max 400, that's in 120. Kodak 50T tungsten balanced Ektachrome film in 120. And then we have Kodak Gold 100, another one of those in 120. Kodak T-Max 400, Kodak T-Max 100, both in 120. Ilford Delta 3200, also in 120. Konica, sorry, SR 100 in 120. Fomapan 100, I got that as like a test roll. That's in 120, and it's also not expired, which gives us our 3 rolls of not expired film on this batch, and we still have many more to go, so we'll just keep ripping and dipping. Western Family 200, another 110 cartridge there. Kodak Pro 400 in 120. Kodak Portra 160 NC, 2 of those in 120. Kodak Tri-X, which is 320 speed film, 2 of those in 120. Kodak T-Max 100 in 120. 2 rolls of Kodak Portra 160 NC, both in 120. 2 rolls of Kodak Portra 160 VC in 120, which is my personal favorite. Kodak Pro 100 in 120. Fuji Chrome PMS, I don't remember what that is, but that's in 120. Fuji Pro 400H in 220. And then I have a box of Fuji Provia 100F, all 120. And then I have a box of Kodak Portra 160 VC 220 film, so 5 of those, 5 of the Provia 100Fs. 3 rolls of Kodak Vericolor 3 160 in 220, 3 of Kodak T-Max 100 in 120, and then another box of Vericolor 3 160 in 120, and then another box of Kodak T-Max 100 in 120, Kodak T-Max 400 in 120, and then a final box of Fuji Pro 400H in 120. Oh, sweet Jesus. So yeah, I have a lot of shit. That's about 145 rolls, 3 of which are not expired. 1 is kind of barely expired. This wasn't really the video I intended to do for this. I wanted to kind of go through and list them out, but what I found is that, 1, it's not entirely entertaining, and I would like try to like throw a little snippet of like, oh, here's a fun fact about this roll. This is where I got this roll from. But ultimately it culminated in me frantically trying to get a thought out while typing all of this in. So maybe this reads a little bit more clearer. It's the most boring thing. I mean, you could watch paint dry or you could watch this video. So I hope you picked this video because I appreciate the viewership. If for whatever reason you want to see me do more of this, I might live stream the second half of this because that might be a little bit more tolerable, and then I won't have to edit it, and I also won't be as able to mess up the audio portion of it. We'll see how that works. But yeah, comment down below what you thought. If you want to see more of this, I still have many more rolls of film to get through, and I'll put the little database up on here so you can see what I was doing as I went through it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was everything you hoped it'd be and more. If not, I completely understand. This is the first piece of evidence in the larger totality of the case of I have a problem and I need to be stopped. So please seek help, and if you have an issue with gambling or other things, call someone. Anyway, that's all. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it as always. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. Don't buy expired film. It's not worth it. And I'll catch you on the next one.